to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. This is Monday, June 15th. I appreciate everyone coming out of their way to come on down here tonight. Our full intention is to be at the City Council chambers next meeting, barring anything from the state that changes that in a drastic kind of way. I do want to make an adjustment to the agenda and add 4.5, with your blessings, a presentation by Jessica Geyer from the Community Foundation. Jessica's here tonight, so I'll ask for a motion to add.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Cedar,
Here.
Ellery,
Here.
Kinsfater,
Here.
Koopa,
Here.
Laporte,
Here.
McCartney,
Here.
Watt,
Here.
all present, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, consent agenda. A, City Council minutes of June 1st, 2020, regular meeting, recommendation approved. And B, Zoning Board of Appeals minutes of November 20th, 2019, meeting, recommendation received.
Motion to approve A and B as presented.
Support.
Motion made, supported. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go right to 4.5, then presentation from Jessica Geyer. Jessica, thank you for coming.
As Bill said, my name is Jessica Geyer, and I'm with the St. Clair Endowment Funds through the Community Foundation of St. Clair County. And as you probably know, we accept donations and make grants to programs and nonprofits in the city of St. Clair and the surrounding area. And we have recently approved your latest grant request from the Recreation Department for the city of St. Clair. And I have a check here to give to Therese Hawkins. And this is actually in support of landscaping around the welcoming signage in and out of St. Clair, as well as banners in the downtown area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica.
Got a question. Bill has a question.
Yes, sir. This volume up?
Turn it up. Put it on the other side over here. The speaker's over here, sir.
Is this better? Is that better? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll go to number 5, ordinance and resolution. A, ordinance introduction and adoption 2004, established social districts. Mr. Downey, you want to bite on that?
Yes, Your Honor. Members of council, before you tonight is a proposed emergency ordinance that will create a social district zone for businesses in the city to allow outdoor sales. It could be vendors of merchandise, it could be restaurants, it could be bars, but there might be a need for certain businesses to be able to sell their wares or sell their food and beverages outside the four walls of their building. In some instances, it's merely going to be an extension out into their private parking lot, but in some cases it might impede or impose an encumbrance on a city street or sidewalk, and this emergency ordinance would provide an application process that would allow administration to grant those permissions as requested. By way of background, there's some discussion in administration about the possibility of amending an ordinance. It's actually on point here. There's a zoning ordinance section 8.31.1 that allows for merchants or vendors to seek sidewalk space to conduct their sales. But in discussions I had with Mr. Rothy and with Mr. Skirdo, it was decided that to propose an amendment on such a short schedule might have unintended consequences for that ordinance and for the zoning ordinance more broadly. So rather than amend the ordinance that's really at the focus of this, we're simply suspending the ordinance. It's being mothballed by this emergency ordinance that is before you tonight. So what the emergency ordinance does is essentially it overrides certain of the approvals that are required in the ordinary course. One of the things that you'll notice in the proposed ordinance is that If you wish to make your application under the ordinance as written, section 8.31.1, you may do so. But if you want the expedited process that this emergency ordinance provides, then you can go that route. And the permissions granted extend through October 31st of this year when they would cease unless they're extended by City Council. A couple more items. This ordinance is really done in conjunction with a permitting process that was adopted by the Liquor Control Commission. The Liquor Control Commission, in response to the COVID crisis, is trying to enable vendors of liquor, wine, and beer a more friendly process for being able to serve their clientele outside the four walls of the structure. And my interpretation of the ordinance that you have tonight is that it's really in the same spirit as the state law that is allowing for expedited permissions in light of the pandemic. And then finally, as noted in the agenda, this is an emergency ordinance, meaning that it would be both introduced and adopted tonight, if that's your wish, because the ordinance speaks to matters of, let me just make sure I've got the specific language. It affects life, health, property, or the public peace, which would be the pandemic that we find ourselves confronting right now. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I'll make a motion to introduce and adopt the ordinance.
Support.
All right, the motion's made and supported. Is there any questions?
I have a question for the city attorney, Your Honor. When we first originally talked about this, we talked about the possibility of allowing patrons to stroll from establishment to establishment with alcohol or beer. Does this allow that to do that?
It does not. That is still under consideration by administration. I think that there's some subterranean issues that still need to be worked out, but we have a draft of such a resolution that would permit the suspension of the enforcement of that ordinance, but it has not been
So this
perfected.
doesn't allow drinking in any of our city parks?
It does not. This is really just addressing, I suppose indirectly, the issue of the requirements that certain parts of an establishment be limited. You know, if you're selling widgets, you might only be allowed 5 customers in, or if you're at a restaurant, you can only have so many tables, you know, that are available to customers. People might, to try to balance that restriction, try to sell some of their products outside the 4 walls of their building in order to make up for the loss that they're suffering due to the requirements of social distancing. So yeah, this proposed ordinance is narrower in scope than the issues you're indicating.
So how long is it going to take for administration to make up their mind and have a proposal in front of council to allow strolling from establishment to establishment, city parks? I think of Rotary, I think of here, I think about Palmer Park. How long is that going to take?
I can speak to that, Member McCartney. So, spoke with Chief Raker and the Liquor Control Commission on alcohol specifically. So, for instance, if a business in town has a to-go license, they essentially can sell, you know, bottles of wine or a 6-pack to their customers. And now, that private citizen can essentially take that 6-pack off the premises and be legally sound. Now, what that private citizen does with the 6-pack as soon as they leave the premises is entirely up to the private citizen. So the city ordinance specifically prohibits the consumption of alcohol in public parks, for instance. So there really isn't any prohibition from stopping somebody from buying that 6-pack at Murphy Inn and then walking around town with it. Yes, if they entered one of the city parks, they would have to. That would be a violation of the city code. And there was a lot of comments between council on, what do we do with alcohol in city parks in particular? And, I do not speak, I'm just the administrator. If council wishes to make that change, that really needs to be a council-led effort. So if council wishes to change the way alcohol in the park works, that would have to, I think, a more solid stance on council is needed to move forward. But it certainly could be accomplished should council desire it.
So, so walking from, we'll pick on the plaza, from Warwater to Anchor Point with an open and talk, so that's private property, so that's allowed?
Raker, do you have can you speak on that a little more?
Or can they go into the courtyard too from those places?
Tell me if I'm wrong. There is a state law against drinking in public places, so we typically in the police department don't consider that courtyard a public place, but I'm sure the state would consider it a public place. But so, state law, does it violate the city code? No. State law, it is a violation.
So the intent was for customer to go from establishment to establishment and not to carry a six-pack or a case or whatever down in the park. It was just to stroll from business to business and enjoy the walk, the scenery, that type of thing. It wasn't the intent to open it up to anybody coming into town and going down to the park with a case of beer or whatever. It was more of the strolling thing, I thought, is what we understood here. And before we get too far, I have a question for the attorney. We have people that work in those establishments, and I know for myself, I have to abstain because I have the potential for profit. Now, does that hold true?
As the owner, yes, it would.
What about a bar manager?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. The thing is, because where we're at 50% capacity indoors, to get people to go outdoors, to add additional seating outdoors, and have the capability of strolling from, we have some beautiful places here in town, and we've got a great, everybody walks the community, and I understand what we're saying, but when you say we can sell a six-pack, and I don't think that the intent is for anybody to sell a six-pack. They want them to sell a beer and then go walk to
But
another
is the
state.
intention for them to sell the beer, walk outside and open it, or be halfway done with the beer or the beverage and then walk out the door with the beverage? Because I know as the law states now, we can sell a six-pack or even an individual beer or a bottle of wine as long as it's corked or capped.
Once they go, yeah.
And they have to exit the building with it capped or corked. They can't exit the building with an open bottle of wine or half-drink beer or any liquor. So
Has to be sealed.
it has to be sealed.
Yes.
And I know liquor control's working on, but who knows how long that's gonna take, to where you can leave an establishment and wander, but you can't cross the street.
So would that be on the liquor commission or would that be on the city or the state?
The liquor commission's trying to do that for their liquor license holders.
Okay.
So they could leave your place, but, I mean.
So that's
you're-
out of our hands, correct?
Yeah, you're landlocked, pretty much. You're
This-
across the street.
The state legislatures also, the Senate passed a bill last week to work through a lot of these issues, including, for instance, allowing people essentially cocktails to go. Now, again, that's passed the Senate, it still has to go through the House, signed by the governor, it could change, but that is, that just happened last week. So again, in coming for you with this, the more pressing need was to, because technically speaking, outside dining in the downtown zoning district is only allowed via a special approval from the Planning Commission, which requires a public hearing, a 15-day notice period, and again, the city superintendent, we have to follow the laws that exist. So that law that exists now essentially prohibits outside dining and drinking and retail. And yes, some of our businesses have already moved forward with those plans, so I saw fit that for this meeting this week, that would be the first issue we tackle in light of the other developments occurring at the state legislature level and just the dialogues from council that were often conflicting with one another on what to do with alcohol in the parks.
Well, I don't have any problem with this ordinance. I think it's a great idea and it's a good start, but how much farther can we legally take this as a council to operate our own city to see that people can come down and enjoy the stroll from Pepper Joe's to LaCroix's and to Murphy's and over to the Voyager, the scenery, the parks, without getting in trouble? I mean, how much farther can we legally do that where it doesn't put an establishment in violation of the liquor license? And
Liquor Control Commission grants to the municipal entity the right to legislate on alcohol consumption in its public areas. So I guess to answer the question very specifically, the council can set its own rules on alcohol consumption in public parks. Right now, the standard that's been set for years is that it's prohibited. But the council has the right to suspend that prohibition if it chooses. The one thing I'll note, and I don't want to belabor this because it gets a little bit off topic to the ordinance that's before you, but to address a point that Councilmember Laporte made, I think that from an enforcement standpoint, and I'll ask the chief to confirm my hunch, I think it's very difficult to open up the parks to public alcohol consumption and then distinguish who's purchased a beer at the Voyager and is on a stroll as opposed to somebody that bought a case of beer in Marysville and they've just decided to set up shop in Palmer Park. I just don't know how mechanically that can be enforced. I think.
Can we limit that if we were to devise a loosening or allowability of that? Would it have to be in a cup or a glass? I mean, couldn't we define that to the point where you can't be sitting in the park with a case of beer, but you can walk from the Voyager down the boardwalk?
Why does it have to be? Why does it have to be bought from the restaurants? Why can't it be bought from a party store or their house or Marysville? My concern is the littering and the glass bottles. I think it should be in plastic cups, and who cares where they get it from?
Well, the intent is to help the downtown business owners.
Could we put together a special meeting? Thank you very much. Could we put together a special meeting, a work session with council, the attorney, and maybe the owners of these bars, restaurants, and do that as soon as possible that we could do that? Get everybody together, see what their intent is, their wishes, and maybe we could work from there. Maybe we can expedite something and put something on the books that we legally can. And that's something that can help everybody. But I mean, some of these places might not even want some of this. Some, maybe they got some better ideas than we do. Is that something
I mean, is our
possible?
intentions to make this like a Key West, where they can walk from establishment to establishment with drinks? Or
I think that's all stuff that should be talked. I think we should sit there and browbeat it at a special meeting. I do. And
But am I hearing correctly from Mr. Downey, Mr. Raker? That's at the state level that we're going from place to place. Can we control that?
Just the public parks,
Yeah.
the public spaces, I should say.
So
So-
we can't make an ordinance that says you can go walk from LaPorte's up to Menina's or something.
No, I suppose if you're on a state trunk line with an open intoxicant, that would be a violation of state law.
So there's no way you'd be able to cross M29.
Right.
That's right.
Pretty much walk
Well, it
from
just
the
means the Voyager's on a level.
Voyager to the inn, pretty much.
Pepper Joe's.
Well, then maybe it's better just to put a special committee together
I
and
think this.
brainstorm it.
I don't know if you use
Because it
special
sounds like the
committee.
state's going to make the decision for us.
No,
Is there any way we can get the state out here to make some sort of study in St. Clair to see if there's something that's possible for St. Clair?
Well, I think when I asked the question to the attorney, he said it was up to city council to approve that.
Well, I'm talking about walking from establishment to establishment. With
Yeah, that's what it was up to us, as long as,
Yeah,
in
but
public places.
That's
You
up to,
can't cross the
that's up to
road.
the liquor commission and the state officials, correct? So is there a way we can get the state officials and possibly the liquor commission here to
That'll take a lot longer.
create a study to possibly allow that to happen if that's something we wish to do?
I mean, I get the investigator for this area to come and talk to, I don't know if you all want to get together and talk to him, or just a couple of you, or,
Mr. Jones, right?
yeah,
Hey, he's a nice guy.
I just,
Well, I think it should be all of us
Yeah,
because it's a
absolutely.
city, it's a community decision.
I just pick a date, and then when you get it, let me know and I'll call him.
Okay.
Because he'll know, he knows it all backwards and forwards.
Well, do we want to do it next Monday night or soon? Well, I mean, today's 15th.
If that's as soon as we can put one together, sure. I'm all for it.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
Can you
make
more?
see if you can come next Monday, City Council Chambers, 7 o'clock?
Yeah,
Where do you want to do a special meeting?
that would be a special meeting.
At 7? Oh, next Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we need
Okay,
a motion to
and
that
And we
effect?
want to invite the business owners, the bar owners, restaurant
Sure.
owners, to just to
Sure, it's a
get
public
their
meeting.
feedback. I think would be a great.
Laporte,
idea.
you make sure they're all contacted that you can be there next Monday. You're related to half of them.
Easy.
I don't mean that in a mean way, I mean you are.
Your Honor, I would suggest after the vote on the motion on the table, if there could be a subsequent motion in support for setting the special meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, yeah, we still have a motion on the floor, I'm sorry, that's right. Okay, so is there any other questions or comments about that? All right, then I'll call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
are you abstaining?
You're abstaining.
Oh, that's right, I have to abstain. Sorry.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Koopa?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now I'll ask for a motion for the special meeting next Monday. Invite the local business owners and the Liquor Control Commission investigator.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support it.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 7 o'clock next Monday. City Hall. City Hall. All right, let's go to Reports of Administration. Mr. Wolfie, what do you got?
Okay, a few items in my report. The sewer lining and storm sewer lining work that council approved a few meetings ago will start soon, potentially even this week. The TAP grant for Clinton Avenue bike path, basically there's three components to that. There's the local funding, the St. Clair community funding, and then the state funding. Happy to report that the St. Clair community funding piece has been secured through a third-party financial partner entity, which will be formally announced next month. At this point, I do not know what the state will ultimately, deem our project as worthy of getting the grant. But so far, in speaking with them, it seems like our application has been reviewed favorably. And again, the most of our local match would come from the St. Clair Communities funds, and those have already been secured. So expect to have more of that next month when the state announces those grant projects. Member Ellery?
Yeah, is that the project coming down Clinton?
Correct. So a few more things. First, for residents who don't want to come to City Hall still and want to do auto pay on their bill, we do offer that service, so you can sign up for auto pay. There's no extra fee for the service. It just comes out automatically on the due date of the bill. Something that's fairly new, a few months old. We don't have a lot of residents taking advantage of the service. So I encourage everybody to do so if they would like. Another big important topic is if you haven't filled out the census, please do so. All of our road money and all of our revenue sharing is determined by, there's two different formulas, and one of the big pieces of those is population. So the more people in St. Clair who take the survey and say, I exist in the city of St. Clair, the more funding we get for transportation and revenue sharing. So again, encourage everybody, if you haven't taken the census, to please do so. Lastly, for my reports, I spoke on the engineering request for proposals for the water treatment plant improvements. We had two engineering firms interested in the project. Both engineering firms submitted proposals for water plant staff and myself to review. There's a pretty big price difference between them, and there's a lot of moving parts to this request for proposal. And so the next few weeks, I'm going to be calling references, getting some sample documents before bringing a recommendation to council, because I am not convinced that the low bidder is necessarily the one best equipped to do this work for us. So I'll be spending some of my time the next few weeks on that project. And with that concludes my report.
Real quick, Mr. Rothy, can you take a look at that sidewalk in front of the St. Clair Inn? It's got a piece of heaving concrete, probably about 2 feet tall. Huge. Yeah, it's pretty huge. It's right in front of the parking lot on the east side.
East, so the hotel side?
Water side of the road.
Okay, I will take a look at that.
Anything else for Mr. Rothy? All right, let's go. Mr. Downey, you have anything else?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Any questions for Mr. Downey? City departments, anything? D is authorities, boards, commissions, anybody? Okay, we have no unfinished business. Let's go to number 8. St. Clair Parks and Recs Commission 2020 local millage distribution of funds.
I can take it. On an annual basis, the city council is required to vote to accept the millage money that is raised by the St. Clair County Recreation Millage. It's about $24,000 annually. This year's amount is a little bit higher, $25,751. I understand this is a procedural vote done annually, so request a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Support.
The motion is made and supported. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? B, approve Parks and Recs concerts in the park. Chief?
Teresa and the Recreation Department have put in this request and all the paperwork's in, and I believe they're going to follow whatever social distancing requirements are in at that time. And the dates are in your packet there for concerts, and then there's a movie night on the 21st. I recommend you approve it.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion is made, supported. Questions?
Yes, one thing, Teresa, if you can give me a list of what events you're having, I'll put it up on the marquee to help you advertise.
Okay, I was going to announce some of our concert dates and the artists that are performing, just because we're starting a little bit late in the promotion. So July 10th is the first concert. We are still confirming that. But on the 17th, the band is Dusk to Dawn, which is a local band. And on the 24th, we're having Cliff Erickson, who is another local favorite. And on the 31st, we're having Darren Hagel and the Burning Love Band, which is our Elvis tribute band. So a lot of people are calling and asking about that. And then in August, the second part of our concert series, the Chamber of Commerce is doing concerts on the weekend. In the past, it's been Sunday afternoons. This year, they're moving it to Saturdays from 5 to 7. So those concerts will start in August. And on August 15th, which was originally the Jazz Festival weekend, we are going to try to have a local jazz band. So it won't be the full festival, but we'll try to recognize jazz on that night too. So we're looking forward to that. And I'm just going to take this opportunity too to promote another program that we're doing. I mean, there was a lot of discussion at the last city council about our pool and our summer playground program. And we did decide not to open our pool and offer that for the summer. But we are working on online programs. And one of the programs that we're offering is this Recreation on the Go. Starting tomorrow, Tuesday, at Greg Park from 10 to 11, we have these activity bags, and it'll run through August 25th. Every Tuesday at the park, we'll have these bags and activities to hand out. They're free of charge, they're open to the public, there's no residency requirement. We do have a limited number of bags. Right now, we're starting out with 200 bags to hand out.
Per week, right?
Per week, yes. And it'll be arts, crafts activities, sporting equipment, and so we want to promote that and have everybody come out and do that. And again, we're doing online programs and these special events that were approved tonight.
What time will that be at tomorrow?
From 10 to 11.
10 to 11.
If we have extra bags left over, we will have them at City Hall just on Tuesdays.
And where will that be at?
Pardon me?
Where?
So, Greg Park from 10 to 11. We're not sure what kind of response we'll get to the program, so we will have the bags at City Hall available till 4:30 if there are any bags left. They may go fast, so it's better to show up at the park to make sure you can get one.
And one other thing to note is this was done no cost to the city. It's
Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Entirely community foundation funded program.
Yeah, actually, it's the Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan, Community Foundation of St. Clair County, the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation, and another program called Sportport. And this is also being done in Marysville and Port Huron. So if you're from those communities, you would have a closer location to go to, but it is open to the public. And the other thing that we're doing is we're creating our own Facebook page for the St. Clair Rec Department so we can put our online programs on there. So we're we're going to be launching that hopefully later this week. And CTV is helping us too with some of our online programming. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion for approval of that little
So
concert
moved.
events.
It was motion approved.
I think the motion was made and supported.
It was already made and supported.
Oh,
Already
I'm
made?
sorry. I'm sorry.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to C then.
Did we call the roll? I don't think we called the roll.
We didn't vote
Still
on
got
it?
to vote on it.
There's no vote, right?
Good Lord, you guys.
They need a
It's the
voice
heat.
vote.
All right.
Just a voice vote is needed.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Sorry about that. All right, we'll go to C, 2020 HMA Street Improvements Program. Bid proposal, Mr. Warren.
Yes, so before you is the tabulation of bids the city received for the 2020 street reconstruction projects, which were 10th Cass Street from 10th to 6th, as well as 3rd Street from Vine to Mulberry. The streets will be totally reconstructed, curb, driveway approaches. All of the sidewalk ramps will be replaced and made ADA compliant. The low bidder for this is Murray Underground Systems, bid of $699,882. When I put this project in AEW's hands, I asked them to also include a second part, which would include the complete replacement of all sidewalks on Cass Street, wherever there was existing sidewalk. If should council wish to move forward with that part of the project as well, that would be an additional cost of $52,781. So again, that would essentially replace all the sidewalk on both sides of Cass Street that currently is there. There's a small section, I think, on the south side of Cass where there is no sidewalk. We would not be installing new sidewalk there. And my rationale for doing it this way was, I understand, there was a desire to do some sidewalk projects in town, and I thought pairing it with the contractor who's already there working on all the other parts of the road, again, it made sense to me. I think the argument could be made, there are other sections of sidewalk in town that could are in more need of repair than what's on Cass. If council wishes to go about sidewalk replacement differently, of course, they are free to do so. So again, at the very least, I would ask for a motion to award the bid to Murray Underground Systems for 3rd and Cass in the amount of $699,882. But I understand there might be some questions or discussion on the sidewalk issue.
Where's Murray Underground located?
Fort Gratiot.
Fort Gratiot?
They've done work for us for a number of years, right?
Yeah.
Isn't Raymond Excavating local?
Yeah, they're local, they're Marysville, but I mean, I just have an issue with Murray after, I don't remember I think it was the last project we did. DPW Director Beeth got up and said that he had an issue with them, couldn't get them to come back and finish Henry Street.
That wasn't the street, that
It
was
was something.
That was the sewer lining of the
That's
street.
what it was,
Which
sewer
was
lining.
not Murray
But anyway,
Underground.
oh, it
That was
was.
a completely different contractor. Yes. Henry Street, the sewer was not, the lining wasn't finished, and that was IPR.
I'd make the motion to approve Murray Underground to do the street.
I'd support it.
Tom, does that include the sidewalk or no?
Do you want that as a separate motion, or you want to include
Let's
both?
keep that separate because I'd like to talk to you about that, actually, if I may. So the motions have been made to accept Murray?
Yeah.
Has that been seconded?
Yes.
All right, the motion is made and supported. Is there any questions? All right, let's call the roll, please.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Kufa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Before we move on to the next one, I would like to take a minute to propose something to you. When Warren and I talked this morning and last week a little bit about the sidewalks, so I went out to Cass Street and drove up and down to Cass Street, and there's some parts of Cass Street sidewalk that are bad, but some of the sidewalk on Cass Street is in pretty good shape. And being that we really don't have a, I don't want to say official sidewalk program, I thought tonight maybe I would propose an idea and see what you people thought. The $52,000 that we're going to spend on Cass, how would you feel about, we said this, City Council, Bob Beeth, Warren, let's go out and let's look at the sidewalks in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd Ward. There are sections of sidewalks in all of those wards that are good, but there's some sections that are just terrible, and they're way out of kilter, and they're just not good at all. So I was hoping that maybe in the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, we as a council, with the help of our DBW, Warren, so on and so forth, we can make a list of these bad areas where these are some immediate necessities to fix these sidewalks, create that list. Warren can find out, is it cheap, what's more cost effective, our DPW doing it, or do we put it out to bid? And that way, this summer, between now and October, whatever, maybe we can take that list and knock out those really bad ones, and then come back next year and, Warren can budget whatever he's gonna, feels is appropriate, and we can continue the program next year in that same light, rather than going on the cast, which in the beginning I was all, yeah, that's good, we need some sidewalks, but I took a look at it, and some of it's in pretty good shape. But there's other parts in town where it's just, it needs immediate attention. There's some bad looking stuff, and dangerous.
Bill, I think that's a great idea.
So did the mayor make a motion?
Well, I'm asking for your opinion.
Sounds good to me.
With the bid that we just approved, item 51 and 52 is showing some sidewalk getting redone on Cass Street?
Yes.
Is that the bad spots that you're talking about?
No, all the sidewalk ramps.
That's 50 and 53 is the ramps.
Driveway approach sidewalk.
51 and 52 is sidewalks.
Yeah. That could be part of the driveway approach, part of the sidewalk, or it could be, I'm not having a little specifics on what
just
it says
asking, I just
sidewalk.
had to highlight it.
No, it's definitely not. It's very, very small area.
Okay.
So what happens if we identify more sidewalks than we're budgeting for? How do we make a decision?
We have to prioritize.
Well, prioritize them. And then we'll do the worst ones this year, and then we'll come back next year and attack them again.
So as a council, we'll decide which ones are the worst?
We'll just have to walk our ward.
Well, you're going to go around, I'm assuming that you're going to look around and say, hey, Warren, here's 5 that I see that are just terrible.
Yeah.
And then we'll get the list together, we'll have Beef go out and look at them, or whoever we decide is the expert, and I think Beef probably can do it, and tell us, look, that's got to be done, that can be done, here's the amount of money, blah, blah, blah. What do you guys all right with that? You want to think about something else, or?
As long as we don't sit on our hands and get it done.
That's what happened the last time we tried to do this, but yeah, I think it's a great idea. The idea's been out there before that we're gonna walk our wards and do that, nothing happened, but let's get it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to direct?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, all right. Okay. Then let's go to D, approve St. Clair Highway paving project bid proposal. Here is the long-awaited St. Clair Highway.
Yes, so we solicited 3 sealed bids for St. Clair Highway paving, and it's not just the unpaved part. This would actually repave St. Clair Highway, so if you're coming north on the street from where, the pavement end is gravel, all the way to just beyond the first driveway into the cemetery. So that's why it's the price is a little bit larger than what you maybe would have thought, because we are going, several hundred feet past just the unpaved portion of it. And in this instance, the low bidder is Raymond Excavating. Their bid did not originally include traffic control or pavement marking, but I got prices on those, and even after those 2 additional costs were included, they're still the low bidder in the amounts of $57,725. Those are the bids, council's decision.
Motion to approve.
Raymond
Support.
Excavating?
Raymond.
And I think I talked to you earlier, Warren, you said for 1% we could get a bond on that?
Yes.
I think that for $577.25, I think that would be a good road to go.
We can get a performance bond on that.
Okay, so the motion's been made.
Yes.
Has it been supported?
Supported.
It's been supported. Any questions?
Do you want the change to
Include the bond?
include the bond? I changed the motion.
Support.
All right, yes.
So clean and stop everything. The extra stuff from is that gonna be milled, is that complete tear out?
That would be milled.
That's behind the railroad tracks, correct?
Yes.
Am I picturing it?
Yes.
So they'll mill that and pave everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Cedar, can
Yes.
you please clarify which amount is being approved?
We are on the St. Clair Highway paving project bid proposal.
Is it the 57,
Plus the bond.
725 plus bond?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Watt,
Yes.
Ellery,
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Koopa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes,
Carried, Your Honor.
thank you. Thank you, council. I hate to say this, but I'm excited to see this get done. That's a long time. Yeah. All right, we'll go to E, approve purchase of police vehicle equipment, chief.
Well, that police car you approved in September last year finally came in, and now we need to make it a police car, so this is the bid. I believe I said at that meeting I didn't have a quote, and I didn't. And I said between 9 and 10, well, it's $1,500 off, it's 11,500.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
Motion's made, supported, questions? Call the roll, please.
Ellery?
Yes.
Kinsfater?
Yes.
Pupa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
McCartney?
Yes.
Watt?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chief. Number 9, claims and accounts, June 4, June 11, 2020.
I have something to say real quick, Mr. Mayor. It was brought to my attention today that when we print out the check register, if we have a vendor who sends us 2 different invoices for 2 completely different services, and then we pay both of those with 1 check, the software defaults to putting the description of whatever was entered into the system first. So if you look at and check register on June 11th, you'll see Bill McDonald Ford, $612, and it says it's categorized as oil change. That was the software doing its thing. There was $42 was for the oil change. The rest was for new brakes. That doesn't show on here. So if you're looking at this and you're like, oh my gosh, why is there a $600 oil change? And I already spoke with our city accountant, and we can change the check register report to break things out better. We're going to do that starting next week. So just wanted to bring everybody's attention to that so I don't get accused of changing oil for $600.
With that, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's go to number 10, public comment. Any non-agenda items anyone has to talk about? Yes, sir.
Little claim in South Riverside. I was gonna ask about sidewalks, but I heard it. Crack sealing, we started yet?
Don't think we've started yet this season.
Are you gonna do any this year?
Yes.
My next question, I noticed the crosswalk signs in the middle of the roads.
Yes.
They're nice. The one over here for Lower Street crosswalk, is that back ordered?
I think we only ordered 3.
There's a crosswalk right over on Lower Street, never been marked. The signs are up, never been marked, there's no sign in it.
Okay.
Can you take care of that? Because it's the only way to get to the 2 businesses across the street.
You said Laura, right?
Yeah, right over here
I'll look into it.
29.
I'll look into it.
And my other thing is, I presume the restrooms at Clutch Park's not gonna open?
The restrooms at Clutch Park, the porta johns are open. At the moment, the restrooms are closed.
We gotta open restrooms.
I don't have an intention to do so, no.
Can you get one over there that's AD accessible?
Yes.
And all the other ones in town have wooden fences around them. Gotta take that eyesore away. City plan to do anything with that one?
No plans for a fence at the moment.
Leave it right out in the middle of the park?
At the moment.
Well, it's not really in the middle of the
What's
park.
that? Well,
It's
I know,
off
but
there,
all the
yeah.
other ones got wooden enclosures around them.
I think it's temporary this summer. Wouldn't be, it's obviously not a permanent solution. But I can certainly get an ADA accessible one out there.
All right, and since you talk about sidewalks, put mine on the list too, would you please? Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, let's go to number 11. Just a quick reminder, next Monday, 22nd, depending on what chief hears back from the investigator, we'll have this meeting, 7 o'clock, City Hall. Also, have a good 4th of July, safe 4th of July. What do you got down there?
I was going to say, Mr. Dignam has done such a good job bringing everything here. Maybe we could meet on St. Clair Highway after they finish it, after all these years of waiting.
Oh, okay. That's
Can you make that happen?
I was thinking of a golf course next week.
Interesting idea. Oh. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause? Have a safe 4th of July, everyone.
Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Be careful going home. Thank you, Mr. Dingman, all your help. This young man over here, I can never remember his name. Kenny Young. Thank you.